Are the Giants back? Welcome to Everything New York Giants with your host, New York Giants fangirl. My name is Adrianna, and today is Victory Monday. For the first time of the 2024 season, Giants fans like myself are celebrating today, and let me tell you, there are a lot of good things to celebrate coming out of yesterday's win over the Browns in Cleveland. So let's go ahead and get right into it because, we won a football game against a good team. And I don't want to hear anyone's comments about, oh, well, their offensive line was beat up and that's why the defense had 8 sacks and, blah, 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 blah. Stop. We won a football game against a good team with a really good defense. If you watched the game from beginning to end, you saw the adjustments that they made in the second half that showed that this is a good football team. And we beat them. So let's enjoy. There are some really good things that came out of yesterday. And the first thing that we have to talk about is Malik Neighbors. We're going to start with the offense, go to the defense, and then special teams last. Malik, this guy is unbelievable. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that he was worth the 6th overall pick. I think we all see that now. He's making leaping grabs, the spinning grab he made in the end zone for the second touchdown of the game. The guy is just incredible. He's a difference maker. He's a playmaker. He's an impact player. Like, there is nothing but good things to say about this kid, and having him on the Giants is amazing. He's so fun to watch. He makes this offense electric. And for all the people who kept saying, who's going to throw him the ball? Are you quiet now? Because you should be. And listen, Daniel Jones didn't have a perfect game by any means. He missed some throws that he should have made. However, he's making enough throws to get to Neighbors. He's getting him the ball. He's open. And this is what we need to talk about, okay? Because I know as Giants fans, we watch week in and week out, and we see what Malik Neighbors does on the field. And, I think you hear a little bit of it from the national media. I saw some tweets from Ari and guys like that yesterday. But the Giants as a whole don't get any respect, but this is what we need to talk about. Through 3 games, Malik Neighbors ranks in the NFL as a whole, first in targets with 36, second in catches with 23, first in touchdowns, third in yak, 5th in yards, and we're in week 3. I mean, what is there not to like about this kid? It's amazing. The way that he has completely turned this offense around, the way that Daboll did a really good job in the first half of scheming him and Daniel Jones's connection from the get-go, it's amazing. It's so fun to watch, and it just feels good to actually have good things to talk about. And I know that weeks 1 and 2 were ugly, but the fact that we could come out of the game and say we know Leak is that guy, it just gets better with every week, and I just love it. I love it, and it's so exciting. And I don't want to talk about the future of the Giants past 2024. It's too early in the season and we don't know what's going to happen. But I know, and I feel like this, and I'm sure that most of you feel the same way too, is that could you imagine him with a quarterback who makes the throws that Jones is not making right now? And I hope that for the rest of the seasons that Jones makes those throws. I want him to succeed. I want the Giants to win games. I want Neighbors to be electric and keep going. And I want Wan'Dale Robinson and all these other wide receivers. I want them to have a hell of a season with the Giants. And I hope that Daniel Jones steps it up and make those throws. But sometimes when I'm watching him overthrow him on the deep ball, the one that he, overthrew, back-to-back ones to Neighbors, I'm just like, oof, we get a quarterback who makes those throws. It's like you just feel like the second he gets the ball in his hand, he's always going to make a play. He's going to get the first down. He's going to get the touchdown. Whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it and do it well. And it's just, oh my God, it's just beautiful. Jones also had a good game. The first half, I felt like this is the Daniel Jones that the people like me who have said, let's see what he has with a good offensive line and some good playmakers around him. Like, I feel like he can be a good quarterback. You see what he did in the first half, and it's just like this this is the Daniel Jones that I want to see on this team. This is the type of Jones that, makes this team win games and, and moves the ball and has a competent offense. So he did well. So 24 for 34 for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He got sacked twice for 8 yards, and he had a QBR of 72.8. So with Jones, like I said, great first half. He made some really nice throws. I think that the play calling the first half was excellent. We had a competent screen game, which if you followed this Giants team for a while, they have not been good at the screen game for a long time. And to be able to see the way that Daboll drew it up, and, I know people didn't like the play with Neighbors taking the snap and throwing it to DJ for the touchdown. I was like, this is what I want to see. This is what so many people have said. Brian Daboll, his offensive mind is genius. He is creative. He does this, that, and the other thing. That's the stuff that I want to see from Daboll and this offense. Do I want to see it every play and want to see it every game? No, but I want to see a creativity factor. I want to see something that's different. I don't want to feel like every time I'm watching this Giants offense, it's the same thing over and over again, and then they can't move the ball. So, Neighbors did the right thing. Obviously, he threw the ball away. But could you imagine if Jones caught that for a touchdown? It would have been incredible. I hope they do it again another time versus like a worse defense. Like maybe the next time they play the Commanders. Oh my God, it would be incredible. So overall, great first half for Jones. Let's go through the offensive stats, and then we'll kind of go half by half. So Devin Singletary led the rushing attack with 16 carries for 65 yards, 1 touchdown, and that fumble, man. What's really frustrating is I didn't realize, and I think a lot of us, I don't remember this being a narrative when they signed Singletary, was that he's had some fumbling issues. It's been better the last few years, but at the most, he had 5 in one season, which obviously is not great. So the fact that he has 2 already is also not great. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a meme going around when Saquon dropped the 4th down pass last week, and the Eagles ended up losing the game. NFL memes is one of my favorite things, except when they're shitting on the Giants. But they made this post that was like, you can take Saquon out of the Giants, but you can't take the Giant out of Saquon. And I was laughing because I was like, Singletary's been on the Giants for 3 weeks and he's already fumbling. So, listen, I think shit happens. They're a good defense. Stuff like that is going to happen. He needs to clean it up. He's been in the league for too long at this point. You got to put 2 hands on the ball. So I really, that's my only complaint with Singletary. Other than that, I think he's been fantastic. He does really well with breaking tackles. I can't believe how many guys it takes to get him down. And I really think that he's a great piece on this offense. So he cleans up the fumbling issues. I'm good with him. I got no complaints. Tyrone Tracy, 5 carries for 23 yards. I know a lot of us have been saying we want to see more of Tyrone Tracy, and I kind of thought that maybe this game we would see that. Obviously, I know that the Browns have a good run defense, so I wasn't so sure how that was going to go, but I just kind of felt like maybe if they mixed it up, Tracy would have some success. And I think we'll talk about this when we get to Theo Johnson. I think it's kind of just, he's a rookie. He's still learning. He dealt with that little bit of injury. He was out for a couple weeks in camp. So I think, as the season goes on, we're going to continue to see more of Tracy. I'm sorry, guys. My nose is so itchy. I can't stop scratching. These allergies, man. Daniel Jones had 8 carries for 20 yards. Neighbors had 2 for 4. And then Eric Gray had 1 for 0. So total for the Giants rushing, 32 carries for 112 yards and a touchdown. So over 100 yards rushing. Like I said, going into this, I didn't really know how this rushing attack was going to go against their defense. And over 100 yards and a win, I will take it. The receiving, 24 receptions for 236 yards with 2 touchdowns. The longest was 28 yards, obviously to Malik Neighbors. He had 8 receptions out of 12 targets for 78 yards. Wandale was right behind him, 7 receptions for 61 yards. Singletary, 4 for 43. Belly, 1 for 17. Tracy, 2 for 17. Theo, 1 for 13. Slayton, 1 for 7. Hyatt on 1 target, 0 receptions for 0 yards. So out of the receiving, I love that we're seeing more of Wandale. I think that's something that all of us have been asking for, especially when it comes to the screen game. I said this when I was on live during the game, when they were having success with that screen game. I'm like, get it in these guys' hands and let them make a play. we've talked about the speed of the receiver group and how that's one of their biggest attributes that this team has. Take advantage of it. And we see it with Leak, obviously, but, Wandale's a speedy guy, and so is Slayton and Hyatt. Like, get the ball in their hands and let them make the plays. So I want to see more of that from Wandale. He's one of my favorite players on this team. I think he does not get nearly enough respect that he deserves, and with that, I want to see him get more targets. Bellinger, I want to see him more involved too. And I talked about this during, the pregame show of what I thought was going to end up being their kind of game plan, is mixing it up a little bit more. And we did see that because Neighbors had 12 targets as opposed to, I think, 15 last week. So, Wandale had down the list, like, these guys definitely had more targets, which I think is important. And I think as the season goes on, we'll see more of it. I think part of it is really just they get the ball out to Neighbors early. It gives Jones a bit of confidence. It gives him a bit of confidence. And then we kind of, things go from there. So overall, great game from the receivers. Theo, I cannot believe how many snaps he's getting as a rookie. I really thought that there was kind of going to be more of a balance between him and Bellinger, and I'm surprised that there's not. I think Theo is going to be a great player, but he did miss a portion of camp with an injury, so I'm kind of surprised that they are literally just like, good luck. Good luck out there. We'll see how it goes. But, ultimately, that's how you learn, right? Is you have to get the snaps and you have to play. So I'm not worried about Theo. The catch in the red zone was too high. That's on Jones. Was it catchable? It looked like Theo could have came down with it, but I think ultimately the ball was just a little bit out of reach, which the guy's 6'6". So next time, Jones, you just got to place it a little bit lower there. But other than that, I like that play design. He was wide open. Like, it just... luckily they ended up getting the touchdown after that, but, it would have been nice. Would have loved to have Theo get his first touchdown. But I do like that they are getting these young guys involved, him, Tyrone Tracy, etc. So, I think what was really frustrating for all of us was to see how well they played in the first half, and you felt like, oh my God, we are dominating this game, which is not something that we can say talking about this Giants team for probably the last decade. So they really dominated the Browns in the first half, and then the way that they just fell off in the second half, my frustration was a bit on the play calling. Was I just felt like with the offense specifically, it was like they moved the ball down the field so well. And obviously you make halftime adjustments, right? But they were doing things so well that I just felt like it seemed like it was night and day compared to what they were doing the first half. And all of a sudden they're playing conservative, and all of a sudden no one's making any plays and no one can catch the ball, and Jones off base with the targets, and they can't get the run game going. It was just like, I don't know if the Browns made so many right adjustments and just like the Giants offense just couldn't handle it or what, but I was like, you guys got to figure it out. Like, this is not great. So very disappointing that it came down to the wire. And again, I just felt like Daboll's play calling, I'm like, why are you getting away from the screens and all the things that worked in the first half? Like, I don't understand it. And that's where I really get frustration with this coaching staff. And, we're going to get to it when we get to special teams, but it's just like Daboll not learning from his mistakes, and it's just wildly frustrating. And like, I always say, I don't know how difficult it is to coach in the NFL. I know it's extremely difficult, and I'm sure that there's a million things running through his head and he's busy doing everything. I understand that. But like, one of the things that he needed to do going into this season was learning from his mistakes. And it's very frustrating to feel like he's not doing that. And I just don't know what it's going to take. Like, is it going to take Eric Gray fumbling again for you to decide that maybe he should not be a kick returner when you already signed a kick returner? Like, it's just very frustrating. So let's talk about the defense before we get over to special teams and that little debacle. The defense, oh my God, what a game from this team. Now, I know that the Browns offensive line was not healthy. I know that Deshaun Watson sucks, but Amari Cooper is a good player. Jerry Jeudy, Jerome Ford is not bad. They, oh my God, my nose is so itchy. Like, it's not even sneezing. I don't know. Anyway, they were just, it was fun to watch. It was, and the thing about it that I really loved was that every single person made plays. And it was the same thing with the offense, especially in the first half. It was like, everyone kind of came together. They played complementary football, and they said, you know what, you missed a tackle here. I'm going to step it up, and I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to help this team win. And it felt like we really haven't seen that. It seems like there's been this huge disconnect week 1 and 2 from this team where they just couldn't figure out how to play complementary football. And they were able to do it this week. And the defense, Unbelievable. Okay, they had 8 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 17 quarterback hits. 17. Now, their defense having 17 quarterback hits, they are tied for the second most in a game since 1999. That is amazing. Amazing. All of these guys came to play, and that's what we wanted. You guys are going to be shocked by this stat because I certainly am. Cordell Flott led the team with 9 total tackles, 7 solo. Unbelievable. Who would have thought? Not me. 1 tackle for loss. Now his rating was a 62.6, I believe. Overall, not a great day for Flott, but is also like the missed tackles on this team too is very frustrating. And overall, obviously the defense had a really good day, but those are the things that I still need to see cleaned up. Like he can't miss those tackles. And I was worried with Drew Phillips being out with a calf injury. I was like, he's the best tackler on this team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And him missing from that game, I was very worried that he was going to be a key piece as to why the tackling was bad. And again, everyone around him stepped up, which is so important. So I really hope Phillips is back for that. Okay, let's talk about the sacks. So Dexter Lawrence had 2, which he should have had 3, and I'm curious if they update the stat sheet on this because that play with Deshaun Watson where they called the intentional grounding should have been a sack. Anyway, I'm curious if they update that. So Dexter Lawrence had 2, Jason Pinnock 1, Brian Burns 1, Elijah Chapman 1, and Aziz 1. Aziz, this is the type of guy that when Aziz is healthy, he's an impact player. And for everyone who's like, trade Aziz, like, give these guys time to figure it out. They're learning a new system. And the same thing about Brian Burns. I complain about him. Sure, we're all allowed to complain about him. When we've watched the atrocious form of football that we have seen weeks 1 and week 2, we deserve to complain. However, they also need to be given props when they do the right thing and when they play well. And Brian Burns is exactly one of those guys where he had a rough 2 weeks, and when they showed after he got the forced fumble, I was laughing because they showed his name in a little stat box, and the last 2 weeks it's like 0 sacks, 0 tackles, 0 this, and then it's like this week alone, this game only, he had 3 tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 quarterback hits, and the forced fumble. So great game out of Brian Burns. I hope that for these guys, the defense is starting to click. I think Shane Bowen did a good job of blitzing more. We all complained last week. I think he blitzed 32% of the time. This time he upped it to, I think, 51% of the time. So I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident in Shane Bowen. Now, let's see what happens on Thursday against the Cowboys. Very different. But the fact that he adjusted the game plan, he's using guys in what seems like the right way, and we saw it this week when they're making plays. It was a better game plan overall. Love it. And then these guys were all credited with a half a sack. So Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden, Raheem Nunez-Roches, known as Nacho, and Kayvon, half a sack. So got them to 8 sacks. So again, teamwork makes the dream work. Great job to these guys. Kayvon had a great day too. They brought the pressure. It was fun to watch, and I hope that it instilled a little bit of confidence, for you guys in the team and the scheme, because I know that's the biggest thing that we complained about last week. And, and this is one of the reasons why I said, if you want to give up on this team and think they're going to go 0-17, I don't blame you one single bit. If you want to do something else on Sundays, by all means, go ahead. But this is why I try to, be a little objective here and say, it's week 2. Let's maybe give it a little bit of time. So, let's see how they continue to develop. Like I said, the second half, it was a tale of 2 halves. It seems like he pulled the pressure a little bit and made Watson look like a decent quarterback, which he very much not is. Tay Banks had a tough day against Amari Cooper. He's a good wide receiver. And I think Banks is a good corner, but I just think he had a really tough day yesterday. I hope that he can shake it off because he's going to be going against some good wide receivers this week, obviously against Dallas. And, Adoree Jackson left the game with an injury. Those were the 2 biggest injuries that I heard of, because Slayton left at one point and then he came back. So nothing to worry about with him. But, Adoree and Drew Phillips. And in my opinion, we definitely need Drew Phillips back for Thursday, but if we could get Adoree back too, I think that would make a big difference. So we'll see how things go as the week goes on. I will keep you guys posted if there are any sort of updates there. let's talk about special teams. So going into this week, obviously there was a lot of concern about the kicker situation because they had signed Greg Joseph last week after putting Graham Gano on IR. So he's going to be out 4 weeks. That means 3 more weeks for him to be gone. And, you know, Greg Joseph supposedly won the kicking battle between him and Jude McAdamney, who was on the practice squad. Now, on Saturday at 4 o'clock, they didn't elevate Jude from the practice squad, so Greg Joseph was the guy. He did well on the point attempts. He went 3 for 3 on that, but he missed a field goal. So, you know, it's just tough because, you know, we talk about this week in and week out with this Giants team where, you know, it's a tale of two teams. It's just so bizarre. They're lighting it up in the first half, and then the second half, it's like they all of a sudden got winded and they lost all of their energy and all of their momentum, and they just couldn't figure it back out. And thank God that defense made the stop on the 3rd and 5th and the 4th and 5th that could have potentially ended the game. But it's just, you know, if you make that kick, then you're up 24-15. You feel like you've got a bigger buffer, and it's just, you know, the frustration with this team is that we have a kicking situation for the second year in a row where Graham Gano is injured again, missing time. And then, you know, you've got a backup kicker who, you know, listen, shit happens. The Browns kicker also missed a field goal. I don't expect him to make the field goal every time. It's just unfortunate when you feel like, you know, the first half, everyone's playing complimentary football and everything's going well. And then the second half, it's like nothing is going well. The offense can't move the ball successfully. The defense, you know, didn't make as many stops as they did before that. And then you've got special teams who can't make a field goal. So it's just, they need to play 60 minutes of football. And I know it's going to be tough this week. It's a short week, but they have to figure it out. Like, I don't know if they need more conditioning or whatever it is, but they need to be able to play 60 minutes in close games because every week they're up 21-7 at the half. And then we end up winning the game 21-15. Like, you can't go an entire 30 minutes and just A, not get any points on the board, B, not get any sort of momentum going, and C, just like the game comes down to the last couple seconds again. It's just, this is what Giants football has been for so long, and they have to fix that. They have to play to win and not play to lose. And it feels like they're you know, when they win games like they did against the Browns, it's like they're winning by the skin of their teeth, and they just, like, for the sake of everyone, can you win by a bigger lead so we're not all biting our nails and stressing out and having heart palpitations to the last second? Like, I didn't think it was that hard, but apparently it's only hard for the Giants. I don't know why other teams do it, although the Ravens came really damn close too yesterday. And maybe it's early and these guys are just not in 60 minutes of football mode, but you better figure it out. Like, now. It's time. We're heading into week 4. So, you know, that's what I have to say about that. All right. The kick returns. Again, for me, it comes back to Daboll making the same mistakes again and again and again. And, you know, I saw some people commenting and saying things like, you know, I made a video on TikTok that was just like, this is what pisses me off about Daboll, not learning from the mistakes. And people were like, well, this video didn't age well. And I'm like, on the contrary, I disagree. It did age well, because if you watch the game from start to finish and you saw how things fell off in the second half, part of that is on the coaching staff, dialing back the pressure, changing up the offensive game plan. Why are you doing things that are putting you in a bad position? Why? And that's exactly what Daboll did with Eric Gray as the kick return. He has notoriously, since he's been a New York Giant, not been good on kickoff returns or punt returns. I don't care what type of return it is. He has not been good on it. He doesn't look comfortable back there. He bobbles the football, and it's not the first time that it's happened. So my problem with this is you have a punt returner on the roster. Okay, I understand that week 1 it was an issue, again, because they didn't have a backup with, what's his name, Gunner, who got injured during pregame warmups. I get it. You don't have a backup. You put Slayton back there, not a great idea. But then you do it again this week with Eric Gray. You have a fucking kick returner on the roster, okay? His name is Amir Smith-Marset. So why do you give Eric Gray 2 opportunities? The first opportunity, fumbles it. We all know what happens in the first 11 seconds of the game. He fumbles the kick return. The Browns will recover on their own, 7-yard line and get a touchdown. Giants go down 7-0 the first 11 seconds of the game. And you know what? They talked a lot about resiliency, which they did. They were able to pull it through and get the win, and they were able to turn that game around, which I know what we were all thinking 7 seconds in, this game's over. So thank God that they were able to turn it around. But to me, that is a bad coaching decision. And then what does he do? After Eric Gray fumbles, he puts him back out there the second time. I'm like, I have no tolerance for that. No tolerance. Again, because it's not the first time that he's doing this. If it was the first time and we haven't seen this play out over and over again for the last 2.5 years, fine. But he does it again and again, and it's infuriating and it's mind-boggling when you have a returner on the roster. So then the second time after Eric Gray gets the ball, which thank God he held on to, they give it to Smith-Marset, which is what they should have done from the get-go. And I don't want to see that shit from Daboll again. It's infuriating and it's just idiotic. You're just putting your team in a bad position. Eric Gray is not comfortable back there. I don't care that he looks this much better in practice this week. I literally do not care. Do not do it again. And don't you dare fucking put Adoree Jackson back there if he's healthy. Because again, we saw that last year. He gets injured on a punt return and then Daboll puts him back there. He's our starting corner. And he's better than Cordell Flott. So this is the stuff that like really pisses me off about Daboll and the coaching decisions. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I like Daboll and I want it to work out with him. But when he does the same stuff over and over again, it is the definition of insanity and it's driving me insane. And I really would like him to cut it out. Outside of that, Jamie Gillen did a great job punting. 7 punts, 2 were inside the 20. The longest one was 67 yards, averaging 51.6 yards per kick. I have no complaints about him. He did great. Overall special teams was okay. They made some good tackles. The flags, got to clean up the flags still. And the last thing I'm going to say on this topic, because I got to go or my camera's going to cut me off. I really want to see them clean up the flags. I feel like they did a little bit of a better job last week during the Commanders than this week. It was flag happy, and against Dallas, they cannot afford to get that many penalties. They cannot afford to make a lot of mistakes against Dallas, and the penalties will be a thing that kills them along with turning the ball over. So those are 2 things that they really have to clean up by Thursday. So I will be back Thursday morning. I will do or Wednesday. I'll do a preview podcast for Giants versus Dallas. I will be there tailgating in D3. I hope that you guys come see me if you're there. Let's hang out. Let's have a drink. Let's take a shot. We're going to need one. But thank you guys for listening. Feels so great for the Giants to have a win. Please share the podcast with your friends, family, Giants fans, non-Giants fans. I will take other listeners, as long as you're nice. Not Eagles fans, though, okay? Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening, and follow me on Instagram at New York Giants Fangirl. Let's go Giants.